It's time for Windows Weekly, episode 135. This week on Windows Weekly, Microsoft offers Europe a browser choice, Intel is back in court, and Bing on the iPhone. Windows Weekly is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott, episode 135 for December 18th, 2009. Sleeping with Scissors. Windows Weekly is brought to you by GoToMyPC, the safe way to access your PC remotely that's as secure as online banking. For your free 30-day trial, visit GoToMyPC.com/Windows. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, visit Audible.com/Windows and follow Audible on Twitter at Audible_com. And by the new voice-activated Sync, featuring hands-free calling, music search, and turn-by-turn navigation. Available exclusively on Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury vehicles. For more details, visit syncmyridepodcast.com. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show that covers all things soft and really tiny, a.k.a. Microsoft. Including the Zune, the Xbox 360, Windows 4, 5, 6, and 7. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, our major domo, the man in charge, the guy at the super site for Windows, news editor for Windows IT Pro, and author, as if that weren't enough, author of Windows 7 Secrets. Adjusting, you pick now to adjust the camera. Paul Thurrott. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you put me up on the screen. Now I looked at myself.
Oh, now you see yourself and you realize.
And I blanched.
There's nothing you can do. It's too late. It's hopeless.
Yep.
Especially since now we're doing video of the show. Mm-hmm. This video appears now on twit.tv, soon to be a major podcast near you, and on our YouTube channel. We now have a YouTube channel, thanks to the good folks at Google who gave us one of those channels where you can upload unlimited content.
Nice.
So, they assume that you might be uploading pirated materials. They found that people who uploaded full-length shows were usually uploading Happy Days, or The Daily Show. So, we're not
going to do that.
We said we won't do that. We promised not to do that, and they have granted us.
Maybe Happy Days.
Well, if it's a really good episode.
YouTube.
The shark jumping episode. Yeah, somebody ought to upload that. YouTube.com/twit. And there's a Windows Weekly channel, and from now going forth, starting with last week's show, and from now forward, you can also see a high-quality version at YouTube, and soon all our shows will be there. We've got the 5 there right now.
See, that's cool, because that's good to embed now.
That's why I did your show, and Jeff Jarvis said he wanted to embed, and so that's exactly what I'm telling you. You can now embed it on your page.
I have to change the way I present this stuff,
Well, I think a little less scratching might not be a bad idea.
I didn't mean this stuff. I meant that.
Don't ever change, Paul. You just stay the way you are, baby.
I'm itchy.
Yeah, itchy. Yeah. Hey, it's very dry this time of year in Dedham, and the skin tends to dry out, a little bit, and it gets a little scaly. And you just shed away any flaking you choose to do. We'll just ignore.
Hey, actually, you just reminded me of something. This is sort of impromptu, and I'm assuming that Raphael's listening to this, as he often does. I'm trying to convince him to work on a software project that would be a Windows 7 tweak application.
Yeah.
Right, that we could brand as Windows 7 Secrets.
Wait a minute, but isn't there? Does Tweak UI no longer exist?
No, it no longer exists. So something like that, but for Windows 7.
That would be awesome. You mean they don't do Tweak UI?
And it could have some awesome Windows 7 UI, either a ribbon or it could be a WPF app or something like that.
A ribbon. Ooh.
But what made me think of it as we were kind of going back and forth over it, and I said, somewhere in the About box, it has to say something like, designed by Paul Thurrott in California or in Dedham. And then it could say, written by Raphael in C++. Or whatever he uses.
And made by Chinese slave labor.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it would be worth it just
like
to have
Apple.
that in it.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be so cool. Didn't Microsoft do that on the Zune HD though? Doesn't it say something like that? Design in Seattle.
Hello from Seattle.
It does it? Hello from Seattle? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe this could say hello from Dedham.
hello from Dedham. And people will really wonder.
Huh?
What are you talking about? Hello from Dedham. So it's time to talk about Windows and as you put it, Antitrustapalooza.
Yeah, it's been kind of a weird week, don't you think, for antitrust type stuff?
I thought it was all over for Intel. Apparently not. And now is Microsoft facing the EU again? What's going on?
Well, Microsoft's done with the EU, apparently. I mean, for now. Right?
Oh, this is part of the deal.
Yeah. I mean, well, this should be it. I mean, this should be the conclusion of the major stuff, Yeah. So that's good news. And I think as we had discussed before, it amuses me somewhat that the conclusion of this case, 11 years after the U.S. Department of Justice originally sued Microsoft in the United States, the result is exactly what Microsoft tried to implement 11 years ago, which is a screen that lets you pick between the browsers, right? This ballot.
They proposed that 11 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
In fact, it was one of those 11th hour deals where they were trying to forestall what eventually was the U.S. government suing them. So that was their final proposal. They said, look, we'll give people the choice. And they said, you know what, that's not enough. And, history happened, right? So here we are, another antitrust case, same exact thing, bundling, this time brought upon because of Opera, right? A browser that still has only about 1% market share, which cracks me up.
The complaints of Opera.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Opera is the only company, the only major browser maker that isn't Microsoft, that didn't gain market share over the past several years while this suit was ongoing.
Right.
So now they're going to get this really prominent spot in Windows. So maybe that will do them some good. I don't know. But God, I despise them for that.
So this is that ballot that we talked about some weeks ago. So when you now, is this going to be only the EU or is everybody going to get this now?
Only the EU.
Only the EU. So
we're not going to see this here in the US.
When you first load Windows, it says, okay, which browser would you like us to install or would you like to make your default browser?
Right. It will give you a screen. Apparently, they have the top 5 browsers very prominently displayed. They're going to be randomly ordered, so that they're not alphabetical. They're not by market share.
Will it be different for everybody, random, or will it be this?
Yeah, every time you run it, this thing will be different. It's random. Yeah, I know. And it will let you pick. You can not have Internet Explorer if that's how you want it. It's fine. And there you go. And also for people who buy new PCs in Europe or in the EU or the European Economic Area, I think it's called. PC makers.
That sounds like Moldova. We are members of
exactly.
European Economic Area. European Economic Prosperity Zone. Welcome. Bring money.
It's like the bad guys from Bullwinkle. So anyway, if you buy a new PC in this area, you'll be able to, the PC maker will actually be able to exclude Internet Explorer from the PC, although an end user could later reinstall it if they want or re-enable it. But they can actually ship. It's possible, and I would say even likely that Dell, HP, whoever will ship PCs that just have Firefox installed, that just have Google Chrome or whatever. So you have to think these browser companies should, if they're not, they should already be scrambling to talk to PC makers to try to become the exclusive browser on these PCs. Imagine what a deal that would be.
Yeah.
One of these companies.
Wow.
So this is amazing to me. I mean, and when you put this together with the IE9 stuff and the discussion we had probably a few weeks back about how I kind of wish that Microsoft would just not worry about the web rendering stuff and just, make IE about the UI and the external stuff.
But with that, I don't know if that would solve anything because I don't think the...
No, it's not a matter of solving it. It's that they are simply going to lose share now.
Right.
And I think what we're going to see is some kind of a 3-way deal between IE, Firefox, and WebKit, WebKit being Chrome and or Safari. And that's going to happen no matter what. So why invest money on a rendering engine? Why bother? If you could establish a standard of sorts on the web, I think it would be huge. And I think they should go with one of the one of the ones that makes sense.
I think WebKit's the winner. There's no question.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's fast.
Yeah.
Chrome uses it. Safari uses it. I don't know why Firefox doesn't use it, but I'm sure they will.
They might. That might be the weird end game for them too.
There were rumors that they might be doing that.
Yeah.
And it would just make sense. And as we pointed out last week, it's not like Microsoft wrote Internet Explorer. They licensed code from Spyglass.
Well, right, but I mean, I think
by now probably
you look at the modern browser. It's
all
I'm sure it's all Microsoft code, and
yeah.
obviously the rendering engine has been improved several times, and it's a big part of that. But I don't know. When you look at IE8, I really think that the biggest work they did had nothing to do with the rendering engine, right? I mean, they did the hard work to make yet another rendering engine and make that difficult change, but it wouldn't have been any less difficult if they had gone with a third-party rendering engine. The big stuff in IE8 in many ways is the accelerators and the web parts and all that stuff, the other stuff, and that's something they could have built on.
I think somebody inside Microsoft is having this conversation.
Yeah, yes, I would think so.
I would think so.
Well, anyway, IE will know more, I guess, in March when that mix show happens.
Do we know what that's going to look like, that ballot?
The browser? Yeah. There are pictures of it floating around. It actually there are 12 browsers that can be chosen from. I'm almost amused to tell you I didn't recognize the names of some of these browsers.
Let's see.
Yeah,
how many? 11? Let me see. Can anybody name?
12 web browsers. I mean, try.
Okay. Let's see. Wait a minute. Now let's see. I bet you between you and I. Okay. Internet Explorer, Firefox. Chrome, Opera. There's 4. WebKit.
Well, okay. So it's Chrome and Safari. So those are the
Safari.
5, right? IE, Opera, Safari, Chrome, and Firefox. There are other things. The list included some things that I thought were only on Linux, like Galleon or. This is weird stuff.
I choose the Galleon browser.
I have to find. I don't have the list. I'm embarrassed to say, but I was reading the story this morning, and I'm looking at this list. I'm like, who are these people? Who are these companies?
Here it is, Maxon, which I think is an IE.
Maxon is an IE-based one.
Yeah, so Flock. I remember Flock. That's Mozilla.
Yep, Flock, I know. Yep.
K-Million. I don't know what that is.
K-Million. Yeah, that's a Linux type of thing, I believe. Yeah. And I think it's
Avant.
I think it's Firefox based. Yeah, Avant.
Here's my favorite one.
So Slim.
Sleipnir. What's Sleipnir?
I don't know.
Sleipnir Slim browser is probably just like Maxon. What's Sleipnir?
I don't know.
Is that Finnish?
I mean, I feel like I should be on top of this, but I've never heard of some of these things.
Sleipnir.
Yeah, good old Sleipnir. Sleipnir is like the name of a B character in a movie about guys from Eastern Europe.
Hey, I'm Sleipnir. I've come to...
Like the Steve Martin sketch on
we are
SNL.
Wild and crazy guys.
I'm trying to find I'm trying to find an image of the ballot so I can show people.
Oh, okay. So Time Magazine has a good one.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find that.
Just go to Time Magazine. I'll use the Bing. I'll Bing it.
There you go.
I'll Bing it. Let's see. PC Mag.
No, Time Magazine.
I know. I just, for some reason, Google gave me PC. I should have Binged it.
Let's see.
It will be provided to both new users of new computers and upgraders. All right.
Wow. What did I just click on? I'm on a different thing.
This is good. I like how we prepare for the show.
Let me find that. Sleipnir, are you here, Sleipnir? Help me find the browser ballot.
Let's do this the right way.
Which would be what?
Go to images.google.com.
Oh, images. Oh, there you're clever. You're a clever.
The problem is none of these are the old design. So
we don't know what the new one is.
No, there's again. I was in a Time Magazine thing.
Here's Mary Jo Foley, but that's October.
I got it. Okay.
Win Supersite, they'd have it.
There, you think so? Yeah, you think that. So, how do I?
How do you send me that information?
Yeah, how do I do that?
Just how did you Google it?
No, I had it open from earlier. The story's called "A Humbled Microsoft Opens Windows to Rivals."
All I have to do is search for a humbled Microsoft. How many places could that show up?
It appears to be an AP story, but the Time Magazine version of it has, the image of the proposal.
God, this is terrible.
I can see why we'd want to do a video version of this podcast.
There it is. I found it. Okay. Time Magazine's got the screen. It's actually Thierry Chartier of the Associated Press. It's about 3 inches. It's tiny. I can't even. So you get.
But you get the idea.
But where's Sleipnir? Is that the next page?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's more. So it starts with, but this is random, as you say. Opera, Safari, Explorer.
This could be any order.
Firefox.
Yep.
And then apparently, if you scroll to the right, you'll get Sleipnir.
Sleestack.
Sleestack. Wow.
Jeez. Yep.
I be honest with you, I would just be so tempted to install Sleipnir.
Just to try it.
In fact, I'm going to Google that and see if I can install it right now.
You have to think that their share of the market is going to be dramatically enhanced, even if 6 or 7 people just give it a shot during this podcast.
Oh, guess who it comes from?
I don't know.
Fenrir.
What?
New from Fenrir, the Sleipnir browser. It's a Japanese tabbed web browser released by Fenrir. It's
Fenrir?
Fenrir.
Like R-E-R?
Fenrir Incorporated. The browser is known for its high level of user customization. I'm just going to look for Fenrir.com. It's probably
software meets design.
Yeah, here it is. Fenrir-inc.com.
They have a US site, by the way, if you haven't. You're on it.
They do, yeah. Look at that, USA. Yeah. And there it is. This is where you can get Sleipnir 2.9.2 fully customizable web browser.
I have never heard of this ever. I mean, never.
I think this is it. This is the big time.
It's not like I see the name and I say, "Oh yeah, I sort of remember." No, nothing. This has to be based on Firefox.
Yeah, it's portable. It is. Look, it even has the Firefox little compass.
Has to be.
Skins, plugins. Yeah, it's
skins that look just like Firefox skins.
And it's Windows only. Thank you for downloading. And it's not smart enough to say, you're on a Mac, you nitwit. Don't download this.
Right.
Okay. Sleipnir. And also, I don't think this is very encouraging. Right on the front page, we have received reports from users that Sleipnir default security does not work appropriately on some operation environments.
Jeez.
So that's a vote of confidence.
I'm going to install it right now.
Put that on their front page.
This is going to be my software pick of the week. I know it's good because when I went to install it, it killed Aero Glass.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah, this is just a Firefox clone.
Huh.
It's unfortunate.
Huh. Sleipnir. Well, anyway, that's part one of Antitrustapalooza.
Right, that one just kind of drifted off, but
it did very much
sort of like Microsoft's antitrust problems.
Sort of like our audience, frankly. But don't drift off just yet, because round 2 is coming in just a moment. Let's get ready to sue. But first, it's time to talk about GoToMyPC. Those great folks at Citrix, they've done it again. GoToMyPC is better, easier to use, and faster than ever. The amazing GoToMyPC is the best way to do remote access any machine. And now that we're getting ready for the holidays, and you can tell it's the holidays because I have the traditional Santa hat on my microphone. I better explain that for people who are watching at home, why my microphone has a pom-pom.
Please do.
Yes, because the holidays are coming, and you want to leave the office early, be home with the family. You don't want to be working late on Christmas Eve. Maybe you have travel plans, and you'd still like to stay in touch. Nothing worse than coming back to the office with 1,000 emails in your inbox, or maybe you just want to keep an eye on your home computer while you're over at Grandma's. GoToMyPC. Install it right now. You'll have it done before I'm done talking. GoToMyPC.com/Windows. It's free for the next 30 days. Get you right into 2010 with this offer. And, man, you're going to love it. Easy to run. You don't have to configure the firewall. There's no DMZing or port forwarding. It just works. And with its 128-bit end-to-end encryption, you know that that's something you don't hear on TV commercials. And with its 128-bit end-to-end encryption, you know you'll be safe. If erection lasts more than 4 hours, please consult your physician. GoToMyPC.com/Windows is the place to go to get it free for the next 30 days. It really is the best remote access software. And no, you don't have to worry about priapism. It's PC World's world-class award for best remote access software once again this year. GoToMyPC.com/Windows. We thank them for their support for Windows Weekly. So round 2. Ding, 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 ding. This time.
The Sleipnir thing is sweet, by the way.
Did you install Sleipnir?
It's just.
It's got to be the single worst name for a browser for anything, actually.
Yeah,
Sleipnir.
It's a character from the Lord of the Rings or something.
It does. It sounds like a
It's
dwarf.
the weirdest name.
It's like Gimli's brother Sleipnir.
Yeah, like the dragon before the one from The Hobbit or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Monia, who is a Norse person who listens to our show from Norseway, says that Sleipnir was, in fact, a horse in the old Norse pantheon of gods.
Which actually makes the Middle Earth thing all the more relevant.
You recognize the IR ending being a kind of Scandinavian. And by the way, that explains why it's so big in Japan. Because the Japanese have always had great reverence for the Norse pantheon of gods.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, it's well known. Well known. You sound a little skeptical. I must have.
You sold that one, I have to say.
I did. I pushed that right through.
Yeah,
with 128-bit end-to-end encryption,
I have to overcome my desire to believe everything you say.
Yes, you probably should stop that right now. That's a dangerous thing. So Intel.
Yes, sir.
Intel settled with the EU for millions of dollars, $200-some million.
Yep. They settled with AMD directly.
Directly, gave AMD
I want to say $1.5 billion, something like that. Or
a huge amount of money.
Huge amount of money, whatever it was.
But
and
they're back in court.
That should have been the end of that.
No, apparently not.
No,
$1.25 billion for the folks at AMD. I was at an event at John C. Dvorak threw a party at which you would have been invited to had you been on the West Coast last weekend. Mm-hmm. And AMD sponsored it, and they were showing off the iFinity and the ATI stuff, and nice AMD. And the nice AMD guy was there, the PR guy, and he walks up to me. I have a name badge on. It says Leo Laporte Twit. He says, "Is that a statement about who you are? Are you a Twit?"
Ooh.
And I almost wanted to say, "Yeah, are you an AMD? What is AMD? I never heard of that." Instead, I should have said that. Instead, I just said Google Twit. You son of a gun.
Yeah. If in case you're wondering why you guys are
never heard of me,
huh?
Never heard of Twit, huh?
Hey. I have a weird relationship with AMD because I want to root for them. I want them to do well. I want their stuff to be better. And there was that golden moment of time, right? Several years ago when they were doing the x64 stuff, where they had something that Intel didn't have, and they had that one generation of chips that was faster across the board, and everything was going great. And Intel kind of turned things around. They started with the core chipsets and then the chipsets and all that. I can't recommend AMD stuff right now, and I know I'm going to hear from people by just saying that, but I really would literally avoid PCs because they come with AMD chips. Although,
really, there's no reason to do that, though, right? I mean, I just don't. In my experience, and this is especially true of laptops, for whatever reason, it seems like AMD-based systems tend to run the fan more frequently, and they're louder. I think you're right. I think they do. They are hotter. They do run hotter.
I can't explain that. I don't know what causes that, but I just know that that's what I've seen.
I think that's true.
And I have they're identical PCs here.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they tend to be power hogs.
And by the way, of course, I'm speaking in a gross generalization here, but and I get that. But I think we've kind of passed the point here where Intel has so many resources and they're really firing on all cylinders right now. They're doing all the right stuff. And it just becomes harder for a company like AMD to become what they once were, right? Going back 15 years ago, I seem to recall the AMDs of the world were always the low-end guys, right? You would buy AMD because you needed a low-end 386SX or something, and theirs was just cheaper.
Right.
So if you were a bargain...
In a few years ago, they were first with 64-bit. They had that first. They were first to have x86 on 64-bit. They had really great price performance.
Oh no, Intel just copied it, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. They made that standard. It is now the mainstream computing platform.
Intel wanted to change the 64-bit standard away from x86.
Right.
And
right.
that was
so
misguided.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So all the the Macs today, all the Windows PCs basically, it's x64.
I'm rooting for the little guy though. I want AMD to.
Yeah, no, I do too. But I it's just like I said, it's a weird thing because I want them to do well. I want to be able to sort of rally around, and I don't know, maybe this is kind of American thing we have about the underdog.
We love the underdog.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, is this Intel lawsuit? It has to do with AMD, I guess, because it's anti-competitive action.
Well, so this is what's interesting about it. Of course, people see that the U.S. government is suing Intel, and they think immediately about Microsoft and what they went through. But it's interesting because these cases don't actually have a lot to do with each other. The Microsoft antitrust case in the U.S. was all about those old-fashioned antitrust laws that we have. The Sherman Act and the other related laws that we have for antitrust. We're all kind of came up out of the oil companies and all that stuff.
Every time I hear the Sherman Act, I keep thinking of the Mr. Poindexter Act.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Peabody. Mr. Peabody.
I think of the Civil War, but yeah. So
you're William Tecumseh Sherman. You're a little more literate than I. I think of a cartoon. You think of history.
I wouldn't say literate. I would more, I don't know, different kind of.
But it is an antitrust thing because
it is antitrust. But they're using newer laws, and one of the things that they're able to do that companies weren't, that the government wasn't able to do against Microsoft was involve the future. They could actually look down the road and say, we're concerned that you will kill something from happening in the future. And what they're concerned about in the future is the graphics chipsets, because increasingly, when you think about the computing power of a computer, it's not just that single microprocessor, right? It's the supporting chipsets, especially the graphics chipset. More and more stuff is getting offloaded to the graphics chipset because those chipsets tend to be more efficient for certain things. And it's not just video games, it's not just flashy graphics. As we go forward more and more, the graphics stuff becomes more important, the graphics chips, I should say. So AMD owns ATI. So obviously they factor into this just from that standpoint. But it's also companies like NVIDIA, right, and the other companies that make these graphic cards and graphics chipsets. And then Intel, for its part, of course, has gotten into this business. And what Intel wants to do is integrate all this stuff into a single chip, or at least a chipset, that they can just sell as a piece to PC makers. But that cuts out a lot of these companies that are, we assume, are doing innovative work and are advancing the state of the art and so forth. So this could be really interesting. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
I have to say, if Intel did what the government alleges, which is basically use rebates to kind of undercut the competition, and that Intel has that carrot and stick with companies like Dell. They'll say, if you buy more chips from us, we'll give you a rebate. Sure. And if you buy chips from somebody else, we won't give you access. We won't give that's what they have. That's what the government has to prove.
This part of that sounds a lot like the Microsoft case, because that is what Microsoft did.
Well, it's what Intel was accused of and fined for in Europe, basically, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, not just there. I mean, in Asia as well. Right, so a lot of places. And by the way, we should also point out individual states are looking at Intel, right? New York State has a lawsuit against Intel for the same issue, same basic issue, microprocessors in that case. A lot of stuff. And unfortunately, that's what happens when you're so dominant, right? This is what Microsoft saw 10, 15 years ago. It's what Intel is facing now. I mean, when you're that dominant in such an important industry, you tend to shut out competition. I mean, it's just just by virtue of doing business, I think in a normal fashion, unfortunately, you're acting illegally. So I guess Intel, like Microsoft 11 years ago, tried to make a last-minute appeal, and what the FTC was asking them to do was too onerous, and they said, we can't do that. That would harm our business. And we'll find out what that is eventually as this stuff becomes public. But right now, we don't know what that is. And now the case is going to go forward. So just when we thought we were done with antitrust for a little while, we're in it again. But I remember during the Microsoft antitrust trial, and I think we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast, it was such a new thing. When you approach this industry from a tech perspective, you're fluent in the technology, you understand what's going on, and then you have this legal thing. It's something new that you have to learn about. And the Microsoft trial went on and on and on, and there was all this legal stuff, and there was a lot to learn. And it was weird from my perspective to learn about that stuff, but also to read the stories about the Microsoft antitrust trial from the perspective of people who knew nothing about the tech industry but understood the legal aspect of it. And so I think we got things wrong on both sides, as it went on, because we didn't understand each other.
You need a lawyer for crying out loud. To
Yeah.
understand this stuff.
It's very complicated stuff. So I'm interested to see how this goes. There is the potential for this to drag on for years and years, just like the Microsoft one did. So this could be a big deal.
Well, there you go. It's Antitrustapalooza.
I used to get all these emails from people who would say, seriously, isn't there anything else going on in the industry? Could you write about something other than the Microsoft antitrust trial?
Well, you said 11 years ago. It started exactly when Tech TV started.
Yeah.
And it continued long after Tech TV was dead. I mean,
this was the defining thing in my career, sort of, for 3-4 years, whatever it was. And it was, I mean, I don't have them anymore. But at some point, Microsoft sent me the videotapes of the depositions that they had for Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates. And they were literally on videotape.
That's how long ago this was.
There were tons of them. I mean, there had to have been 20 of these tapes. And at some point, I had this notion that I would actually watch these and listen to them and try to pull out some little nuggets of whatever. And I don't know if you've ever watched any of this footage.
Oh, I have.
It is miserable.
Oh,
and
nothing
I think I had one of them going for about 30, 40 minutes, whatever. And I just threw it out. I couldn't.
It's a sleep aid.
That's awful.
Ugh.
Absolutely miserable. I can't wait to do it again. That's all I'm saying.
This time it'll be on DVD, though. That's the good news.
Yeah, it will make a big difference.
Oh, lordy. Yeah, it's funny how when you're in the tech press, you have to cover the big stories, and often our audience grows weary of those stories long, and as do we, long before the story dies.
Yep.
And what are you going to do? That's the story. It's not like we have balloon boys every year. I mean,
I can't invent the news.
You can. I wish you could. Would gladly do it. But, it's the same thing with Twitter. People were so sick of us talking about Twitter. I think finally the Twitter thing is dying out. But
sure.
I don't blame them. I was sick about it. But that was a story for a year. Oh, hey, speaking of Twitter, this is an interesting story. Plurk.
Yes.
Have you ever used Plurk? I like Plurk.
No,
Plurk is awesome. I have an account on Plurk. I was looking for a Twitter replacement. I've been looking ever since Twitter began because of the name. And Plurk was a good candidate. It has a scrolling. It looks like you're almost like in a fish tank. This is like the timeline view in Outlook or whatever.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can see,
and then messages pop up. You can comment. It's a very interesting interface. It's unique, and I think that's why, if you're going to steal it, you really ought to change
look a little different. Different
because
rename the trash bin to recycle bin. That kind of
do something because it's pretty obvious when you rip it off.
Well, and so Microsoft it's hard to understand who actually did this, right? So it's Microsoft's business units that are in China. The relationship they have with the mothership is unclear, but there's something called MSN China, and MSN China farmed out this project to a third party, probably the guy that did that DVD USB tool that Raphael discovered had open source code in it. But they created this social networking service called MSN Juku, only for the Chinese market. And it was a complete ripoff of this. I'm already forgetting the names of everything here. Plurk. Right? Not just the way it looked and the way it worked.
But the actual source code.
The actual source code.
Point-to-point comparisons is just like what Raphael found.
Yeah. That's good stuff. But it's sad because, people hear this and like, oh, there's Microsoft again. As if Microsoft was some single entity, where all parts of it were talking to each other and this was some sort of corporate strategy that they were just going to steal stuff. It's really unclear who could have even known about this. I mean, it seems like this must have been as much of a surprise to Microsoft as it was to anybody else. But man, it was a blatant. It's just a blatant.
Microsoft's too smart. They have no interest in doing this. This was either a contractor or a low-level employee who thought he could get away with it. But it sure is embarrassing to Microsoft. I mean, this was a product, right? They released the product, right?
Yep. Yeah, and you can never take that back. There will always be those beautiful screenshots you know.
Well,
this
I
is what
think
it was,
I think
and here's
you
what-
know. I mean, but let's be honest. Joe Biden transcended his plagiarism, accusations. He's now vice president of the USA. I think Steve Ballmer still has a chance to become the vice president of this fine country.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Who would be president?
I don't know.
Steve Jobs? Or what are we talking
No,
about?
let's see. That's a good question. Bill's probably too. He couldn't take the cut and pay for one thing.
Yeah.
Actually, come to think of it, neither could Ballmer.
Right.
I guess really it's probably okay. They probably can live without that.
They'll be okay. Yeah.
It's
They'll survive this.
you might say, why copy Plurk? Why not copy Twitter? Plurk is the Twitter of China. Apparently, it's very, very popular. in China.
This just reeks of stupidity and someone thinking no one's going to notice.
It looks exactly the same.
It's China. We rip stuff off all the time. Why would anyone care?
You could steal Twitter's user interface because it's pretty straightforward. But you steal Plurk's interface, it's obvious because Plurk is so distinctive.
I know.
You picked the wrong website to rip off, buddy boy.
Sure.
Those Plurk guys is tough. They were upset. They were very upset. They blogged. They said, "Wait, if anybody knows what we can do, because you can't exactly sue China."
No, but they did it the right way because they had some great examples. They had source code examples, screenshots.
Made it very clear.
It was very clear cut. They were right. There was no doubt that what they said was correct. And Microsoft took that thing down very, very quickly.
Oh yeah, I think
so.
That's proof positive they didn't do this on purpose. Some low-level flunky did it. And I presume the low-level flunky is no longer employed by the big green. What do they call? Is there Microsoft have a nickname? The big green.
Big green or something.
Big green, like big blue.
I once referred to them as the big red, and someone reminded me that was Novell.
Novell's big red. IBM's big blue. Big green sounds.
Big green.
Mean Joe Green. Mean.
They call them the soft sometimes.
The soft. The softies. I've heard them called the softies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Ballmer going to keynote at CES? Do you know?
I don't know.
I would presume.
I am going, by the way. So when, speaking of which, what's your schedule for CES?
So we get there Wednesday, the 6th. We will be interviewing the CEO of Ford right away, the minute we get in, because he's going to he's doing a keynote on Thursday, and he's out of there. So we're going to get him right away, but we'll replay that interview later. So because I don't know if we'll be able to do that live. We're just arriving. The gear will be arriving in I think a Ford Flex, as it turns out. They're lending us a Flex. So basically, we're in Ford's back pocket.
Sure.
As we ought to be.
Right. We got to be in someone's back pocket.
And it should be somebody with a big-ass back pocket, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're all going to fit.
A car that would fit that pocket.
Yeah. If we're all going to fit in the back pocket, let's make it a big back pocket.
Yeah, at least it's an American company.
I'm proud of that. That's kind of part of it. And then so
one that didn't need to be bailed out.
Didn't take any bailout money. They're very forward looking. I'm really kind of pleased with the relationship, but no, it's not going to be all Ford all the time. So Thursday evening we're going to, and I'm sure you'll be at. Let's see. I think Wednesday's Showstoppers and Thursday's Digital Experience. I'm sure you'll be at both of those events, right? Those are the.
That's
actually,
where
they have the really
right?
big shrimp.
Yeah, I hope
and
it
the
didn't blow
chocolate
it.
fountain.
I do get in Tuesday. Yeah, so
you got plenty of time.
I get in very late on Tuesday.
Oh,
so
you'll be ready, raring to go by.
Yeah.
You won't have had anything to eat. You'll be. It's great. You can go really and devastate that shrimp buffet.
Okay.
So Showstoppers, come by and say hi. Kiki and I will be doing live coverage of that.
Okay.
Sprint's having an event Wednesday. I want to go to that because every year, last few years, when Sprint's had an event, they've had something under the seat.
Okay.
Like a phone or something.
Yeah.
So, I think maybe, this is a 4G event. So I'm thinking maybe there'll be, because
a 4G phone of some kind.
Las Vegas is huge 4G territory.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Flat.
It's Sprint country. Yeah. Well, it's big Sprint country. So I'm thinking that'd be good. And then I'll go to Showstoppers for the shrimp.
Of course.
And the chocolate fountain. And then I think there's going to be some people there.
The ice martini bar.
Yeah, baby. That's over at the...
I spent $1,000 going to CES so I could get free food at Showstoppers.
Yeah, right. Well, you have no money left after you go, so the poor working press is like, feed us. I'll look at anything. So we're going to do that. No, and the whole idea is that we want to give...
it would be worth going just to those two events and going home.
And I want to give our audience an idea of what these things are. I don't think the general public is not invited. You don't know; they don't know what these are. So these events, these special press events. Then we're going to do all day Friday. I hope you'll come by. Then we're going to do Windows Weekly. I think on Friday that day.
Yeah, I'm there. So
we'll special CES edition of Windows Weekly.
Okay.
On Friday, and then all day Saturday, and half day Sunday because they close the place down. It's kind of depressing to be doing a show in an empty convention center.
I fly home Saturday night late, like overnight even, I think.
Are there any big rock and roll shows or anything? It used to be, I remember, boy, you'd have these big, I remember seeing Fleetwood Mac.
Sure.
At I guess it was Comdex.
You'll be lucky if you see ex-Hall of Famer Jim Kelly at this event.
It's so sad.
It's just the way it's gone.
Oh, I remember the one year the B-52s played the, that was so much fun. Rock Lobster, see all the tech press on the floor going, that was great. So many great bands. I wouldn't count on that. Nothing like that.
Yeah, sorry.
Jim Kelly, maybe get in line for that.
I don't recommend it.
Having been there?
He's a bitter man.
He's kind of angry. All right. Let's take a break. As long as we're talking about CES and Ford, we are going to drive down there. We're waiting to hear, but I think we're going to have my Mustang will be down there in the Ford Flex so I can show people the Ford Sync. We're going to be giving people rides. I don't think we're insured for this.
We're taking you for a ride.
I don't think we're insured to actually drive the car. But you can get in the car. You can see the Sync. It's so cool. I was in my wife's car today, and it was such painful. It's one of them Japanese cars. I used to think great manufacturer, great company. We just bought it as a 2009 vehicle. And the first thing I get in, and my phone isn't automatically recognized. It doesn't automatically connect. The Ford Sync has Bluetooth audio. So as soon as it sees the phone and connects with it, your audio can start playing. And you control it by your voice. You can say play next, play previous. It has a USB port too, so if you want even more control, you can connect it up. iPod, Zune, almost any USB compatible MP3 player, you connect it up. It scans the files in there, and then you can actually ask for, say, I want to hear Windows Weekly 135, and it'll play it. Play the Beatles, it'll play it. Play next, play similar even. We can continue with a genre, but then there's even more. You can with the Sirius Travel Link, you can get sports scores, you can get 5-day weather forecasts, ski reports. You can find out when the blizzard's coming to Dedham. Both of them. It's such cool stuff. I want you to give it a try. Go to your nearest Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury dealer. You don't have to drive the car. Just say, I want to test drive the Sync. All of a sudden, there's going to be a wave of people going to Ford dealers saying, I don't want to drive the car. Just let me hear the Sync. But you're going to love this. It lets you keep your hands on the wheel, your eyes on the road, and still do all the stuff that you want to do in your car safely and easily. I love it. You will too. SyncMyRidePodcast.com for more information. Ford Sync. And come see us at CES. We'll be demoing the Ford Sync. And we're going to talk to the guy in charge of Ford Sync. I just got that email. So we are also, I mentioned that we have the CEO of Ford is going to join us, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
To talk about what Ford's up to. And then the guy who's responsible for Sync in the U.S., and I'm going to ask him about these plans to open source it and all that stuff. I think it's very interesting what they're up to. So we got some good stuff coming up. I'm very excited at CES. And if you're in the Vegas area, come by. But if not, the good news is you don't have to. We're going to do a virtual trade show. This has always been my dream, is to have a portable live streaming system that's fast enough and good enough that we can go, and we're going to use a high-end Sony HD camera streaming over this portable device with 4 3G cards and maybe a 4G as well in there for high speed, streaming right back to the studios in Petaluma and then right out to you. So you'll be able to watch as I get rolled, mugged, anything that happens. Win big at the Baccarat. It doesn't, you'll see it all.
Right.
I don't think they allow cameras in the high roller area. Probably not. Are you a gambler when you go to Vegas? Do you gamble?
No, I do not.
Me neither.
Yeah, couldn't care less.
And I
want to say that over the years, and I've been going to Vegas since, early 90s, I bet I have spent maybe $10 gambling altogether. And most of that was I was waiting for someone and just threw a couple of quarters into a machine or something. I just don't see the point.
I'm with you, and this is why Las Vegas hates.
Yeah.
Geeks.
Oh, absolutely. I've had some I've had some run-ins with people who work in Vegas. The cab driver one time, guy in a hotel. They don't like. This was Comdex, before CES, but there is a real malevolence there, because they sort of get that.
Oh God, Comdex people would cover. It was like they almost wanted to say, "We you're cheesy cheapskates." The cabbies would glower at you because we don't tip well, and then they'd get to the casinos, and half the tables would have rubber tarps over them. It's as if to say, "We know you're not going to gamble."
Yeah, I don't.
And this year. Normally, then they would jack up the hotel rates as a result because they know they're not going to get any money.
But then we stopped coming.
So we said, fine, see ya. So it's cheap. It's easy to go this year. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not nearly the price it used to be.
Right.
They don't screw you like they used to.
It is definitely cheaper than it was.
Let us move along to the next story, which is all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth and a laptop. What happened?
I tried to order my wife a computer for Christmas.
Oh, that's so romantic.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure a lot of tech people make these same mistakes. You buy your wife technology, which, they love. But Dell has these kind of Mac Mini-like computers. They're colored.
Oh, yeah.
Different color schemes and all that. Look kind of cute. By the way, AMD chip. There was no choice on that.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know. So this is not their netbook. This is a higher end than that.
This is a desktop computer. It's like a Mac Mini.
Oh, like when you said a Mac Mini, I see yes, was it the Dell One? I saw one of those.
No, it's called a Zinio HD or something like that. It's a Inspiron Zinio, whatever.
AMD was showing that. AMD was showing that also at the Dvorak event. That guy from AMD.
So nice looking computer.
Yeah,
and I want to get to get going on the PC with Windows 7. I want to get it going with live mesh and not worrying which computer she's on because all of her data will be synced and all that stuff.
And it's a media center, right?
It could be. I mean, this would be something just to throw up in her office, with a 22-inch monitor or whatever. The thing is, I ordered this in November, and 2 days ago they sent me. It was supposed to come last week, and 2 days ago I got an email. And they said, "Hey, sorry, it's running late. We won't be able to deliver this until the middle of January." I'm like, "Thanks, guys. That's fantastic."
It's the Grinch who stole Christmas. That's terrible.
Yeah. The thing is, I was kind of on the edge about this anyway because I think the way my wife works, and which is probably more typical than say the way I work, she could probably just have a laptop. So I ended up ordering her another computer that in fact won't arrive until January as well, but. At this point, what's the difference? But, last year, I think it was last fall, or maybe it was earlier this year, Dell came out with that Adamo computer, which was the $2,000 Mac Air clone, really thin computer, super expensive. But this year, in fact, I believe only in the past week or so, they've come out with a Vostro version of that, which is their small business line of computers. And those things started about $500. So if you look this thing up, there's a 13-inch version of this. It's like that Adamo computer, but it's really thin. And the version I got her was probably $700 or $800 or $700, somewhere around there. So I think she's going to be good to go with that. It's kind of interesting, but it has a battery you can't take out like a Mac. It's a sealed battery.
I got over that. That was a big negative for a long time on the iPhone. And do you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, rats, my iPhone battery needs to be replaced"?
No, I mean, granted, we've only had these things for a couple of years, and you and I tend to replace them every year anyway.
And all the Mac laptops now have built-in batteries because they can put a bigger battery if they don't have to put packaging around it.
Yes, and there have been no horror stories so far, so we'll see.
I think people they grouse about the idea, but
right. But this is like the thing we were talking about last week. People, techie people, I think they overthink things, and there are legitimate reasons to have a removable battery. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, if you're flying across country or across the planet or something, but there are other solutions for those times, And the way I described it to her was I was saying, you have to do some kind of math over what's the most important thing. How often will you use this way versus how often will you use it some other way. And you know, ultimately what it comes down to is this kind of setup is pretty good. You know, it doesn't have a built-in optical drive. If I could buy every computer going forward, every laptop without an optical drive, I would absolutely do it. I see zero need for an optical drive personally. Now, I know that's not true for everybody, but I have zero need for optical drives.
Well, remember all the fuss people put up when they stopped putting floppy disks in computers.
Sure.
How am I going to start my computer if the hard drive doesn't have a floppy disk? What am I going to do? And I think,
right. Well, I mean, you can be too fast about it. Remember when that iMac came out, the first one?
That was a little early.
It was a little early. The number one selling utility for that thing for 2 years straight was USB floppy.
But I bet a lot of those people didn't really use it. It was a
sure. It was a
safety,
like a
security blanket. Yeah. And I suspect that unless somebody does that, and Apple's a perfect candidate for this, pushes it a little bit, because that really was the beginning, and after that you just didn't see floppies for, you know. And by the way, that computer also would put USB on the map. People forget that, but that really put you. I know. I think it was because people were nervous about using USB, and that was the only way you could attach anything to that Mac. So
I think Windows 98 might have had something to do with that too. But I see what you're saying.
It wasn't support until SE. Remember, there was no support till SE. You had to install a driver to even access a USB hard drive. You remember that? Come on.
I don't know.
SE, maybe. I would grant you SE. So you know what the question is?
No.
iMac or SE, which came first? And I could tell you the answer was
iMac came before SE. I know that.
By a couple of years. Because it all happened the same. I know this.
Oh, listen, I just got a question from work. They were doing a 15th anniversary issue, and I was asked,
Windows 98?
Any thought back to this time frame? So 15 years ago, right, 1994, 1995. I was working I was actually supporting Novell Network.
Right.
We had WordPerfect running on Windows 3.1.
Oh, wow.
A few people remember this, but Windows 3.1 actually did have the registry. Almost nothing used it, including most Microsoft programs.
It was still WinINI and...
they had the INI files. But one of the first major applications to support the registry was WordPerfect, which then was owned by Novell.
I loved WordPerfect.
That brief time period.
Yep.
That was my glimpse of the future. I didn't realize it at the time. But I was on the phone with Novell trying to get support for this because I couldn't figure this registry thing out. It was killing me. And that's immediately what I thought of. And by the way, the reason, and why is this relevant to this story? We had some of the first generation iMacs in the lab as well. This kind of Bondi blue, whatever the color was with the Pocky Puck. God, I hated those things.
It was crazy. Crazy. I have the puck still.
Sure.
I have it right here.
That would be good as a weapon, like you could swing it like a...
It was like a bolo or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. See there? Here's the puck.
Not good as a mouse, but if you wanted to kill someone, that would do it.
I saved it.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Well, of course, and as it should be, it is not connected to a computer.
Oh, no.
I mean,
nobody should use this thing.
Who did that? Who's responsible?
Disconnected this from a computer?
No, made it. In other words,
Apple's,
someone
wait a minute. I'm going to say something right here. Apple's never made a good mouse.
Yeah.
They still haven't made a good mouse.
Oh, I agree with that. And by the way, not to get off on another tangent, but that thing you're holding there,
the magic
mouse? Let me tell you what that mouse is. That is your gateway to carpal tunnel syndrome. Anyone who thinks that's a good mouse, seriously, if you go, all you have to do is Google it, look for reviews, and look for someone who was called that the greatest mouse ever made.
Yeah,
I don't know who it is. I don't have a person in mind. I'm saying, but anyone who said that,
crazy,
idiot,
crazy.
that thing will kill you. Dangerous. You got to use a real mouse.
I'm totally with you on that. It baffles me because Apple, which is a very good company in industrial design,
by the way, it's a beautiful mouse.
Oh yeah, maybe
and
that's
as you know, it's packaged. Using apparently something that's a millimeter thicker than the actual mouse itself. The thing is tiny.
Yeah, and
I give them all the credit in the world for that. It's a beautiful looking thing.
Oh yeah.
I think you could wash your face with that. I bet if you scrub that under water, soap would.
It does feel like soap.
But if you actually try to use that on a daily basis, that would kill you. It would just kill you.
But no worse than the puck. Or no better, I guess. But you'd think after, 15 years?
Yeah, 15 years. Well, almost 15,
No. This came out in 98, I think.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You'd think but Apple has yet to do a good mouse, whereas Microsoft has done nothing but good mice. I mean,
it's true.
Really good mice.
No credit at all for that. And really good keyboards, too, by the way.
Yes. Apple's keyboards are not bad. I'm going to give Apple some credit for decent keyboards. I like the thin aluminum keyboard.
Yeah, they're okay.
The mouse, I guess.
I guess I would say the keyboards are just not notable. That's all.
Not notable. Well, Microsoft's kind of.
Oh no, some of the Microsoft keyboards are fantastic.
The Gull Wing.
Yeah, that's what I have. The nice split keyboard.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
I'll point this down at my crotch so you can see it.
Wait a minute. Here's a YouTube moment. Now that we're on YouTube, we do require crotch shots from time to time. Just if you want to get somebody to kick you,
it's in your contract.
Yeah. it's just, we have to change a little bit for the young people. Have to give the commenters something to say. Oh boy, I'm not looking forward to that. Hi, YouTube commenters.
Oh boy, be gentle. Do something else. That's all we're saying.
So now here's exciting news.
Yes, sir.
It's a little odd, but Bing is now on the iPhone.
Yeah. It's actually pretty good, by the way. Have you tried it?
Has Microsoft ever done an iPhone app before?
They've done a couple of, I would call them niche kind of beta, backdoor, live labs type apps. Sea Dragon, I think, was the name of one, kind of a picture.
But why would you get an app? I guess Google has an app.
Right.
So is it
it is a lot. Well,
is it a browser or what? I mean, what do you get?
No. I think where this excels is it integrates with the GPS functionality of the device, the location stuff. So you can look up businesses, nearby restaurants. It does all the map stuff and the directions and all that. And yeah, I mean, what's the point? But it's actually a decent.
It's free.
It is free. Well, I mean, the Google app is free too. And the thing about the Google app, though, is I have that installed, or I at least have it downloaded. I can't even remember how it works or what it does. But the Bing app, because I think part of the Google functionality for a while, they were going to do what Apple eventually did in the iPhone OS, which was supply a way to search the device. Right, that was part of it. That's right. And now, of course, you sort of see that's misguided. It's built into the device. It's not really necessary.
Right.
The map presentation stuff is actually pretty nice. It's kind of interesting.
It does directions too, so it's a Google Maps as well as Google search.
Yeah.
I think that's good. That's cool.
Yeah. There's also for people who don't have iPhones, there's a new mobile Bing service, like a mobile version of the website that's tuned to the size of the device screens and so forth. And if you access that on sort of a first tier phone like the iPhone or an Android phone or one of the Windows Mobile 6.5 phones with IE6, you get a much nicer experience. And I there's been some kind of humor online about why would anyone with an iPhone want a Bing app and that kind of stuff. But it's actually a surprisingly decent little application. It's nice. And, they have that nice thing where they do on their that they do on the website with the photo of the day.
It's very pretty looking on the. I'm downloading it right now.
Yeah. So if you do an image search, one of the first things you can do is search on the image that's on there from today, and it will do a search based on that image and find images like it.
That's neat.
Right. Yeah. It's a neat little app, actually.
I might have to make that my pick of the week on Mac Break Weekly. That'd
sure.
That'd get the guys.
Rattle some
cages. Oh,
ruffle some feathers or whatever.
I'll fuffle some reathers. Now, we spent a lot of time on TWiT this week.
Yeah,
and on This Week in Google.
You shouldn't have.
Talking about in fact, in hindsight, I think you're right. But at the time, it seemed like it was a big deal. We're talking about.
Listen, I saw this, One. Of course, but this is what we do, right?
We get excited.
Follow the tech industry.
Yep.
Google's coming out with a phone. Oh my God. You run around. I got to write a story. And then you realize, what this is, assuming it's true, by the way, because they've never admitted it. So wait, they're going to sell an unlocked phone from their website to people, and then they can put it on their own network.
Not going to happen.
They already do that.
They do?
Yeah, they've been doing it for over a year. They sell it off their dev site. They're on their second
phone.
Model already.
Yeah.
So if this thing comes out, this is just the third one of those.
Right. I think you're right.
Who cares? You could. I don't know how much they cost exactly, but I'm going to guess it's somewhere in the $500 range. Well, it's what an unlocked phone costs.
Yeah.
So what's the big deal? Right? When it comes down to it, this isn't really a big deal.
No, I think you're right. In fact, after all the excitement, and to be honest, to be fair to myself, I did not.
I'm not ridiculing you. I mean,
no. You
can.
You certainly can. But to be fair, I did not jump on any bandwagon. I just asked the question. Well, what is it? What's the point?
Yeah.
And I did say, well, I don't understand why Google would do this. In fact, they were very quick to say, we're not going to undermine our partners by selling a phone in competition.
It sounds like
with
a big
them.
deal. It sounds like what's going to happen is you're going to go to a store, AT&T Wireless, Verizon, whatever, and one of the choices will be the Google phone.
No.
That's not what's happening. No, because that would be a big deal, right?
I
you
think
could have
even a bigger deal would be if this phone, and this may be true, had features that were not available on other Android phones. It is 2.1.
Well, but that will all be made available.
Yeah.
I mean,
here's what I think. After all the fanfare is over and the parade is left and it's just confetti on the street and the street sweeper going by, what it really is. But I really went over long on that metaphor. But
okay.
What it really,
yes.
And then and the people who were there have gone home and the ice cream's all been eaten. And what it really is that Google wants one phone that they totally control.
Yeah.
To show people.
It's a reference platform.
It's a reference platform. What the Google experience, and that's a registered trademark of Google, what the Google experience is to them. These are the apps we would put on the phone if Verizon didn't change it. This is how it would look if Verizon didn't put a new desktop. This is the Google experience phone. Probably never to sell it.
Yeah.
Except maybe,
and if
as
our
you say,
partners didn't hate us, they would make this too.
Right. It's just a reference platform.
Sure.
And I think that makes sense for Google to do that. They go to
it makes sense for Microsoft to do it.
Does Microsoft do that?
When you're not Apple and you're not the only one selling the only one that you make, Microsoft does do this. I mean, they don't sell it, but I mean, Microsoft makes reference devices that they show to their partners and say, "This is what we'd like you to make," and then their partners laugh and they make something else.
Right.
That's just that's the way it is. If Microsoft could sell something like that directly to consumers, I think that would be smart.
Well,
and I think it's smart for Google to do it as well.
It's a small market. I mean, it's the developer.
It's not about making money. It's you're just putting it out there because when this thing fails, if it doesn't live up to whatever expectation, you can say, "Hey,
that's exactly right.
This is what we wanted them to do."
Yeah.
It's not us.
We have a reference platform. Go ask for it.
Right.
And also for Google's own development team and for developers, there's got to be an Android reference platform. I think Google does sell this, and probably
that was the start of this, wasn't it? When you think about it, I think it was the Google employees were getting this thing,
right? And
it was showing up, I don't know, on web searches and stuff like that. Somehow people became aware that it was out there.
Yeah, I think that I allowed the hype to go a little longer or a little more deep.
Well, no, I'm not aware of what you did, I wasn't.
I didn't do that much. I didn't say, "Oh, here it comes! It's a new Google phone is here." But we speculated.
My initial take on this was exactly this is a big deal, but it's one of those things as you look into it, you sort of realize, okay, well,
not such a big deal.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
It's exactly what you would do if you were Google. And what you would not do if you were Google is undermine your partnership.
I would have already run that company into the ground personally, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, nobody's written a book, What Would Thurrott Do?
No, and no one ever will.
What would Leo do? No, nothing like that. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
It would just be one page long.
What would Leo do? He'd run it into the ground and you'd lose all your money and that'd be it. That'd be pretty much it.
That's how.
Leo'd be eating Alpo right about now.
You need something more complicated than that? Because that's pretty much all I got.
That's all I got. Oh, it's so easy. And, I fall into this trap. It's so easy for anybody, but especially a journalist. This is all we do, really, is we're kibitzers. We're sideline guys. We're Monday morning quarterbacks. That's what we do.
It's even worse than that. I am a professional complainer.
Yeah, me too. That's what we do.
Even within the context of work, I got somebody asked me to write an article for the print magazine. You point out some of these problems, whatever. And I said, sure. And then they came back and they said, you realize you have to come up with the solutions too, right? And I said, hey, I'm not a solution person.
That's not my job.
I complain.
My job is to find the problem. Your job is to solve it.
Yeah, I don't have solutions. I have problems.
No.
But I'm not proud of that fact.
No, it's not we are bottom feeders.
We're bottom feeders.
This is very clear about this.
This is
not something to aspire to. It's a warning for others.
It's why until broadcast media came along, journalists were the lowest of the low.
Yeah,
they were the threadbare guy with everybody knew that.
Sure, they got paid less than teachers.
Exactly. The worst pay, but then broadcasting came along and it elevated them because of, Walter Cronkite and Edward R. Murrow. They were on TV and it elevated journalists to a station we do not deserve nor aspire to.
Oh, no, we're nicely moving away from that model, so don't worry about that. Listen, anyone can be on the web, my friend.
Let the whinging begin.
Problem. Consider it just evened out nicely.
Oh, yeah. We're right back where we started, huh?
That's I think so. I'm going to have to start wearing tweed or something.
Yeah. You need a little hat that says press.
Yeah, I'll always be chewing on a cigar that has never really been smoked.
Hey,
but it just.
Hey, sweetie, where's the free shrimp? You got any free shrimp?
Come see me pouring shrimp into my suit jacket.
Yeah, exactly. I got a pocket full of shrimp. Now I'm ready to write.
I have to eat tomorrow. I'm just thinking ahead.
Spent all my money on the plane fare out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to try to make some money. I don't know. We'll see how it works.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. All I can do is try. Audible.com, our great sponsor. Hey, we've been blessed by a sponsor that loves us and that we love. And in fact, a product that I've been using. This is one of the things I try to go for in the sponsors that we have on the show is products I use. Been using happily Audible since 2001. I know you have too, Paul. We love Audible. And we've arranged a special deal. As I've mentioned before, you get your first book free if you go to audible.com/windows. Audible.com/windows. You sign up for the gold account. First book's free. Cancel it anytime, yours to keep forever. And now I know you don't have a pick this week, Paul, so I'm going to throw in some sci-fi, some classic sci-fi. One of the things when I first joined Audible in 2001, they did not have a lot of science fiction titles. They weren't. It was a little skint there, and I realized afterwards that the reason is because science fiction publishers are not known for making audiobooks. I mean, you were lucky if you got a paper that didn't have big chunks of wood in it. Forget the audio. What, you want an audiobook too? Come on, we're printing this stuff on pulp. So there's some great science fiction novels going back 50 years that have never been recorded, never been on audio. Audible over the last 5 years they've had this project called Audible Frontiers where they take these great books and they record them, with the best readers, and I think they bring them back to life. They've been doing the Stanislaw Lem canon, which is great. Stanislaw Lem I don't think is that well known these days. Great science fiction author of the 50s. Actually, this one's 1988, so he was around a long time. This is called Fiasco. I just want it for the name alone. The plot: the planet Quinta is pocked by ugly mounds and covered by a spider web-like network. It is a kingdom of phantoms and of a beauty afflicted by madness. In stark contrast, the crew of the spaceship Hermes represents a knowledge-seeking Earth. As they approach Quinta, a dark poetry takes over and leads them into a nightmare of misunderstanding. I'm reading Jerry Pournelle's Mote in God's Eye, which is awesome. One interpretation. Yeah, great classic. One interpretation of the First Contact story. This is the other side of it. What if it all goes horribly wrong? Fiasco by Stanislaw Lem. He is one of our most creative and innovative and interesting sci-fi guys. I've talked before about Philip K. Dick and how important he was to science fiction. Stanislaw Lem, I think, is really in that category. And they've got a bunch of them. Memoirs Found in a Bathtub, His Master's Voice. If you've not read any Stanislaw Lem, my recommendation is go right now to audible.com/windows. Get your first one free. Fiasco would be a good start. 14 hours, too. So I'm not giving you some skinny little book. This is the real deal. Absolutely free. Audible.com/windows. We thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. Somebody wrote me and said, "Oh, you never mentioned that it doesn't play on Android. It doesn't play on all devices. It's not Audible's fault. They have an SDK. They give publishers support. They worked with Microsoft for a long time before it was on the Zune. It's not that hard. It's just it's got to be a priority.
This will definitely happen on Android.
I'm sure somebody's working on it.
But
Yeah,
you
just
can
a
go.
matter of
You
time.
can go to the Audible Device Center, which is at audible.com, and look at the devices. If you're wondering if it'll play on your device, do look. It plays on all the Apples, all the Zunes. It plays on the Kindle, iRiver, Olympus, Samsung, SanDisk. It also plays on some oddball things like GPS devices, the Creative devices, Philips devices. But do check the hardware support to make sure that Audible play on yours. But if you have an iPod or a Zune, this is a great choice. Audible.com/Windows. And we thank them so much for their support of Windows Weekly. Now is the time when Paul does not play on the Canon 5D Mark II. Massamini is asking in the chat room. No, I don't think it plays on my camera.
Wow, we're going to ask about specific devices
Every
now?
device. No, it does
It
not
does
play on
support a bizarre range of devices, though.
Oh, it does. Hundreds of devices, including when they first started, they made their own device because nobody supported it.
Yeah, that's right.
Some people still remember that old device. I can't remember what it's called, but some people still use that. As long as I'm mentioning stuff, ScottEvest. You know about ScottEvest. I just got my new, and we're doing this just because we love Scott. He just sent me the new ScottEvest shell. This is their performance shell, and it's made out of some sort of space age material, waterproof material that breathes. He really Scott loves. He's a techie. He loves these things, and of course, just a little bit. And of course, like all the ScottEvest, this has I don't know how many hundreds of pockets. He really should put. He should put on the label like how many pockets in this one, Scott. But I can get you 20%. Oh, 20 pockets. It does say 20 pockets in this thing.
Right.
But very sleek and streamlined. You can wear a sweater under it for extra warmth. But it's just perfect for that dead and blizzard coming on you here.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does he make a lawn coat?
you need something. But Scott's doing a thing, 20% off through the end of the year. TWiT 2009 is the code. You can go to scottevest.com/TWiT 2009 if you want to, look at what he's got there. But also you could just use it for this is the TWiT Army jacket, which we love. It's a fleece. But anything at all the products at his site are 20% off. Just use as you check out the coupon code TWiT 2009. Scott does a great job, and this is a great gift for the geek in your life. They have men and women travel vests, windbreakers, pullovers. The fleeces are great. I'm wearing Scott's pants right now. Well, not his pants, but this.
We have there's like TWiT logoed stuff there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's we used to have a lot more. I think it's just the fleece now.
Okay.
But I love the fleece. 24 pockets on that one, and it's really toasty and warm and comfy. I really, I love it. And 20% off. Expires midnight, December 31st. If you use the coupon code TWiT 2009. Just thought I'd give him a little plug and give you a little freebie, folks. But now on with the show and your tip of the week, Mr. Thurrott.
So I have two. Although one changed a little bit, sadly. A couple of days ago, I got an email from a guy, Corey Stam, who told me that he had just discovered, and I had never heard of this either, that Amazon, in addition to having digital downloads for music and movies, for Kindle books and so forth, they have a game library as well, like a lot of the other online services like Steam. I didn't know either.
I had no idea.
And unfortunately, my original tip was that some of the games were really cheap, and they're great games like Far Cry 2 and Rainbow Six Vegas were both $5 a piece. But
it's like
they just
Steam,
ended.
you download. Oh.
Yeah. So, but I would still keep my eye on this service. And the reason is, if you've ever done any of the Amazon digital download stuff, it's actually really well done. You do have to do a little bit of PC management in the sense that, it keeps track of where you've installed stuff to and all that kind of stuff. But, one of the things I really like about the Amazon digital media content is that now that I have that Roku box, and Amazon is on there, everything I've ever purchased on Amazon on demand is available streaming right to this device. So with the games, again, you have to register your computer with the service, and if you want to install it, you're going to want to tell it to take it off of that computer. But they've got a nice system, and I like these kind of digital download systems. And again, when we talk about computers that don't have optical drives and all that stuff, I mean, these aren't brand new games. I mean, they're a couple of years old, but or a year or two old, depending on the game we're talking about.
Far Cry 2 is fairly
Far Cry 2 is less than a year old, yeah.
$19.99 too. That's a good.
Yeah,
price.
it's not a bad price, but I mean it was $5 the other day, so it was pretty exciting. So I actually did grab Far Cry 2 and Rainbow Six Vegas when they were $5, but
look, Big Kahuna Reef is free.
There you go. So you can always enjoy Big Kahuna Reef.
I don't know that game, but boy, free is a good price.
Free's a good price.
I figure, how bad could the game be? It's free.
Something to keep your eye on. I mean, there's good old games. Remember GOG.com?
Yeah.
That we looked at. There's Steam, obviously.
Yeah.
I think there's some others that I'm forgetting. Direct to Drive and things like this. But I'm a big Amazon customer. I love Amazon, and they tend to do a good job. So I'm going to keep my eye on this. I wouldn't be surprised to see a bunch of good stuff turn up on here, and of course they'll have sales and all that stuff. So something just to keep an eye on. And then the second one is Microsoft, for a limited time, is offering a free ebook about Microsoft Office 2010 for download. I got the URL; it will be in the show notes. But it's called A First Look at Microsoft Office 2010. It's a Microsoft Press book, PDF format. It's unprotected. You don't have to register anything. You can just click on a link and download it. So if you're interested in this new system and you're looking for a book length look at it, it's a little bit on the Microsoft promotional side, but it's free as well. So definitely check that out as well.
Wow, and you've got 2 software picks too. This is just you're in a holiday mood. You're festive.
The way it's going. You never know what's going to happen, Leo.
You never know what's going to happen with Paul Thurrott. That's for sure.
The first one is something called Power Plan Assistant for Windows 7. And the reason I'm recommending this is that back when Microsoft was creating Windows Vista, one of the things they were going to do and never did do, and they still don't do this in Windows 7 either, is have the notion of different power plans that will kick in based on whether you're on power or not on.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when you're plugged in, you might always want it on high performance mode. But when you're on battery power, maybe you want it on a different power mode. So this application does... this utility does other things, but one of the things it does is it supports the notion of 2 different types of power plants based on the power that is attached or not attached to the computer. So for utility, again, it's definitely worth checking out. It's at www.powerplan7.com.
Very good. And then another one.
And then the second one is Panda Cloud Antivirus. We talked about this one months ago when it was out in beta. But one of the limitations of the beta version was that it was only 32-bit. So they shipped the first, non-beta version, the 1.0 version, and now they do support 64-bit versions of Windows Vista and 7 as well. And like Microsoft's antivirus product, the Microsoft Security Essentials, Panda Cloud Antivirus is very small, lightweight, seems to be very effective. I had good results with it. I happen to be using the Microsoft one now, but this is another alternative. And one thing I found this to be very good for was if you're running Windows XP in a virtual machine, obviously, you want to be running the lightest weight antivirus possible because, it's running in a virtual machine. You don't want it to take up a lot of performance and so forth. I found Panda Cloud Antivirus to be excellent.
Better than Security Essentials?
Well, this was before Security Essentials was out, so I still
that's just kind of my default now. It's just installing everything.
I bet that these two are very comparable, and I've not, done the side-by-side comparison. This thing literally just came out today, so... my guess is that from a performance impact, Panda Cloud Antivirus and Microsoft Security Essentials is probably very, very similar. But in the months that this was out before the Microsoft product came out, I used this for a long time and thought it was great. But the only limitation again was the 64-bit support. So they do have that now. So if you want to check it out, or perhaps you're not interested in using the Microsoft product for whatever reason, I could certainly understand not trusting.
But
Microsoft.
this is even though it says cloud, this is not a online scanner. This is a download that you put on your computer. Yeah,
it's still a download you put on your computer. It really works like but I would say from a functional standpoint, it works exactly like Microsoft. It does do the real time updating and all that stuff. So how did you laugh when I said that?
You just opened a big wide door for a joke, but
go ahead. No, I can take
notice. I didn't walk in.
No. You laughed. You kind of. I mean, it's not like you didn't really hold it back. I mean, I mean, I can't give you too much credit.
I laughed quietly. I didn't guffaw. I just went. I snorted a little. I went.
Nice, okay.
Works just like Microsoft.
Sleep out? Yeah, what is that?
I shouldn't tell this story, but I can't help it.
Okay.
Jennifer, we're decorating for a Christmas party on Friday, and Jennifer's really taking this seriously. She's just working really hard.
just to do the Christmas party.
Sure.
And I went to bed. She was still out in the living room decorating and stuff. And I'm in the bedroom and I hear snoring coming from the other room. And I think, what happened there? So I go out in the living room.
This isn't gonna. You're gonna get in trouble for. Oh my god!
I go out in the living room.
Jesus.
It's like a murder scene. She's fallen asleep on the floor.
You know what I would have done in this situation?
What?
And you should have done this.
What?
You should have drawn a white line around her body.
I should really have done something.
That would have been really funny.
I was much too kind. She's holding scissors. She's out. I mean,
Yeah, you gotta be careful with
I took
that.
a picture because
She actually fell asleep on the floor.
yeah.
That's incredible.
And with scissors in her hand, and the thing that she was opening, which was like some sort of ribbon candy thing, in the other hand, it's like she just gave up. She said, "I give up. I'm too tired," and went out.
That's awesome.
So I didn't know what to do, so I woke her up, but gently, you
Yeah, she's got scissors.
I took the scissors out of her hand. I said, "Honey, maybe you'd want to come to bed now." She went, "Where am I? What? I'm on the floor." I said,
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what the weirdest thing about the story is, though?
What?
You actually go to bed before your wife?
I did this time because she was up late. And let me tell you something. I
would
said, okay.
think that of the people listening to this podcast,
You would
who are
think
married,
I'd be the up late
the guy would be the one staying up later. That's what would be
Normally,
my,
I think that's probably the case. But
my generalization.
I tried to usher her back, and she said no, and then I really did go to sleep.
That's
and
good stuff.
She stayed out there.
Dedication.
Well, you should see the house. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she's going to like it when I project this picture up on the wall. I'm sorry, I have to.
You got to make a poster print out of it for the party.
This is how
And
hard.
then put a donation jar right under it and say, "Look, she kind of put a lot into this, you know."
It looks like she's posing. She's not.
It literally looks like it's like a murder
It's a
crime
murder
scene.
scene. She's got scissors.
Yeah.
It's the strangest thing. I should have called the cops. Anyway, no, maybe I won't. I won't put that on Flickr.
Yeah.
No. I want to stay married.
People are going to want to see this now if they're listening to it.
They want to see it. That's why you
They're
go to
gonna wanna see this.
youtube.com/twit and you go all the way to the end.
Yikes.
All the way. Well, we got this, and I thank whoever the magic person at YouTube is who gave us this, because only a few, major broadcast outlets are allowed.
So you
to pull
never
full
actually
length.
talked to anybody? You just
Well, we were talking about
asked and they said yes, and you don't know?
We do a show on This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis says, "Let me look into it for you," because he has some contacts.
okay.
And it was like that. It was boom. He opened the magic door. So we're very grateful to everybody, and you're the beneficiary, because now you can embed Windows Weekly.
I know.
On your
I never
website.
wanted to embed. I'm not sure if the other stuff was embeddable, but I wouldn't want to drive traffic off of someone else's site. It's kind of cheap.
So YouTube,
But YouTube, I have no problem doing that.
why not?
I mean, they're set up for that.
They're giving it away.
They ask you to do it.
They want you
provide
to.
you a link.
They say, you want to embed this? Please be our guests.
Right.
YouTube.com/twit is the site, and Windows Weekly is also in video now on the Roku box, on Popcorn Player, on all the Media Fly devices. It will be soon on iTunes. It is already on twit.tv. You can download a high or low quality there, and for Flash or embedding the YouTube site. Now, best place to go though to find out more about Windows, WinSuperSite. That's a great site. WinSuperSite.com.
It's not shabby.
It's not shabby. It doesn't suck. And you can also, by the way, read Paul's writing in the Windows IT Pro. He's the news director there, and his new book is Windows 7 Secrets, available in better bookstores everywhere. Paul Thurrott, we will see you. I want to just look at your gamer profile and see how long it takes you to get back to Modern Warfare 2.
I prestiged up.
You did?
I did.
So you're like are you at the touch?
And by the way, if I could give an Xbox tip to people, anyone who has gone to level 70 and decided just to stay there, huge mistake.
There's
No,
more?
you have to prestige up.
Prestige
There's
up.
awesome benefits to doing this.
Oh, you're not going to
Awesome.
tell us, though. You're sneaky.
It's just related to, you get points for doing things they multiply dramatically when you level up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Have fun. Thank you, Paul. We'll see you next time on our Christmas Eve edition. Actually, it'll be
Yes.
Christmas Day edition.
I'll have to get some eggnog going.
Let's get some nog.
Yeah.
Let's get nogged out
Okay. All right. I'll see you next week.
on Windows Week.